Good evening to everyone. I hope you're live and you're happy to be here with us. Super excited with you all, you guys. This is emergency AMA, and the main topic that we want to cover, essentially, the market's volatility. Where are we heading? Is SwissBorg safe? Obviously, it is. And without further ado, let's introduce the dear co-founder Antti Lesoismier, and obviously Alex is in the house, and myself, Cyrus, the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg, here to serve you guys. So Alex and Anthony, what's your thoughts about all this?
Go for it, Anthony.
I think so. Anthony froze, I think so.
You froze.
Yeah, Alex Da Silva, thank you so much. And indeed, I think so. This is, I think it's very important for us to share with you guys is that, we're here in the good times, the bad times, the horrible times, and then the sweet times again. And these cycles goes on and on. And what we have to always do is look into the future and as well look into the past as well and what has happened in the past, what has been happening with all different cascades of from burst turns, the starting of our careers with Anthony myself, to the cascade of USDT today, and very often it's quite similar things that happen, right? Grade comes in, it works well while it's sunny, it works well while things are great, and then unfortunately, time to time, when things get a little bit more hectic, and there's people who have bad intentions, the big brothers controlling us, that they orchestrate big coups that then have a big effect on the planet itself. And I think that's one of the biggest essence here and why we're here today. Est-ce qu'on pourra faire ça en français? Alors pour résumer, on le fera peut-être à la fin, mais en tout cas, tout va très bien.
I think,
Great.
Cyrus, you mentioned it really well. Unfortunately, in these markets and the greed takes over. And I just want to remind for those who haven't been with SwissBorg from the early days, one of the biggest problems we wanted to solve was combine really, probably many of you guys remember the logo we used to have, which was half green, half white. And the idea was we want to get people from the tech world to work with people from traditional finance, like Anthony and Cyrus here today, algo trading, hedge funds, Anthony as well in private banking. And the idea of the original concept of SwissBorg, guys, was we know the engineers will be able to build the finance of tomorrow, but the traditional financial people will be able to remember the mistakes of yesterday. And I think this today shows, we're very lucky, guys, to have people on both sides of the spectrum, because the tech, the smart contracts for USD, Ethereum, the tech could be great. It could work great. But if things are poorly engineered on the financial side, you need people from traditional finance, like Anthony's team, which, by the way, I've always respected from the bottom of my heart. But when I see the work they're doing now, I really, they impress me more and more day by day, because that combination of traditional financial engineers with quants, quantitative analysts, with Anthony's vision of not just the tech side, but also the financial risk, systematic risk, the liquidity risk, everything combined together, it's just really showing that if people build great technology but don't know how to financially engineer them, it becomes troublesome. And it's hurt many of you out there. I know many of you in deep pain, somewhere on vacation. They didn't even follow the news of USD. They didn't see our notifications. They didn't see anything. And just came back yesterday from a long vacation, and they realized that, they've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars within the past 2 days, right? Which is absolutely tragic. So I'm sorry for going so long on this, but I really think that it really revisits the initial idea of SwissBorg, right, where we combine the best of both worlds. And we feel for your pain. I'm really sorry to hear if you've lost wealth in UST. I have friends who they've lost a third of their net worth, maybe even more, in 2 days. So we feel your pain, and we hope that some of you out there who didn't know the essence of SwissBorg in the early days is starting to understand that it's not just about understanding the technologies of tomorrow, but also understanding the risk and the errors of the past to avoid them from happening again. Sorry for the long rant, but I think this message is important, Anthony. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Thank you, Alex. No, it's very right. Sorry, guys, I'm not on my best because it's been very hectic and crazy during the past few days, and I think there is still a lot of the Lego DeFi that we're analyzing just to make sure everything is fine. I think again, with finance, we easily see things as linear, and they are never linear. There is always part of what it is psychology and financial engineering, and sometimes when the two met, they are not doing very good. And I think for us, since the very early days, we released very, very late the UST is because that's something that we didn't trust that much, the technology itself. I mean, the financial engineering, the technology was good, but it was always segregated from all the other stablecoin because we felt that there was not the same nature. And for the people that own UST at the moment, it's always hard, right? But to give such a strong opinion. But I think the reason, what is happening right now is you see Luna printing a lot of Luna to maintain the peg, but it's not possible because the depth is much higher than any money, any magic money that can create. So my opinion will be my advice, and I can't be sure for 100%. My advice will be that if you still have UST, I think it's a good time to dump them because I strongly believe, I post something on my Twitter that explain what would have been a responsible decision from the Luna team. But now the reality is they have this massive depth into a fixed value. And what they do is they're trying to print as much money as they can to buy back this value. So it's only based on how many people will believe that, the Luna will go back to whatever value it will be and inject money into the system that they can buy back the peg. But the reality is the UST can only exist if Luna exists as a coin. And if Luna wants UST to exist, there is an infinite amount of Luna that needs to be printed. And that's the non-linearity of things. So if you guys have UST, my opinion will be that it's time to dump them. And it's never too late. I know it's a big haircut, but I guess in the coming hours, we are going to see UST going to zero. And it's very unfortunate because what we're seeing is most probably big guys organizing this infinite minting that they can dump on the small people. That's the unfortunate truth that I do see. So, yeah.
And we definitely see it here. I mean, that like the whole health of Terra the whole health, of UST, was based on Terra, right? Luna. And we see that, Luna that was at over $100 at some point, right, is now at less than 1 cent, right? So how this could go back into, back to $100, well, that is if like someone with a magic stick comes and say like, okay, I'll just buy in, let's say, $12 billion worth of Terra, and I will lock this for 1 year, for example. And I think so that's what Duquan and the teams from UST has been trying to push with a lot of different guys, saying like, okay, we could sell a very big portion of our tokens to you guys, at a discounted rate, even when it was, I think so at, something like $10 or $20 or $30, $50, something like that. And unfortunately, no one went for it. And that's where the bail was potentially possible yesterday. But now, we show here clearly that, there's no faith, right? This is a knife that falls down, unfortunately. And
just
when
to
that
give
knife,
you, sorry, but just to give you figures, the Luna supply went from 360 million to now more than 8 billion, and it's going crazy. It's going steep like this. So it's so big. So the community is so big that we have still people buying, but we've seen the same scheme with Titan and all these things. It's going to a parabolic unlimited supply that will just go to zero. The system is done. Like it's 20 times in one day, they have printed 20 times the supply of a coin that used to be 40 billion. So I think...
Antoso, do you think Luna is going to zero as well? Is there any, some people ask from the SwissBorg community, should I buy at a low and expect, a recovery further down the line, or are they both going to zero?
I mean, if they've took the responsible decision of saying, we are going to kill UST, so that will be very unfortunate because most of the people who have to lose their money, they could have saved Luna. But because they've decided to fight for UST, which doesn't make sense. So my only theory is they needed to help some big guys to escape the UST. But that's only my theory. But UST only exists because of Luna. So why do you save UST and sacrifice Luna? Unless you want to provide momentary liquidity by playing the fantasy that UST can repeg one day. But if you wanted to save Luna ecosystem, you will have to save Luna and depeg and stop and take a haircut on UST and say, we're sorry, it's a meme coin, it's not a stable coin anymore, and we unlink the mechanism between UST and Luna. That would have been the only, to me, solution. And I post that on Twitter. I advise the team, of course, for my very small audience, but I advise the team to do that. It's a very courageous decision that would have been taken, but I think that will have give more chance for the Luna Foundation to recreate value, and maybe with time doing an airdrop for the people that have lost a lot of money with UST. But unfortunately, I think massive ego and other stuff. So.
For the previous question, I think someone asked about CHSB yields. No, the CHSB yields are not threatened because this does not come from DeFi, so it's probably the safest double-digit yield you can get as of today. So please do not be worried. I don't know if anything, Sai, if you want to add anything to that, but
yeah, I think so. It's very important as well that not only all the users' funds are all segregated in all your different wallets, right? We're very healthy. We're doing, we're doing good. Obviously, it's a very stressful time, and as you could see, we're not sleeping as best as we could, but business is going great, and all your funds are segregated. So whatever happens, if one day something blows up, you still have all your funds. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, nothing's going to happen. Third, we're regulated. Fourth is that a lot of different. The biggest risk that UST created in this DeFi is the domino effect of having UST with different pools in different DeFi platforms. And I think so brilliantly, our DeFi team, Anthony, have been very, very serious about this since day one, is that we would not put any of our cryptos in with UST. So that means that if UST essentially gets corrupted, which is the case with Luna, and today it's, as Anthony said, there's very strong chances that no one will bail this out and this will go to zero. And but if that happens, it will not essentially affect the other liquidity pools that we have on USDC, on USDT, on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other ones. So that's, I would say, the very fortunate and smart decision that we took. is to really offer potentially this risk, because this was a very high yield, right, and with a high risk. But if this things goes south and got to be somewhere a little bit challenged by the market and eventually going straight into the wall, well, all the other funds users wouldn't be impacted. And right now the biggest risk is the most competitors, people in the blockchain industry, is that they have this inherent risk, which is that even if they have like USDT, but if they have like a pool with USDC, UST, and USDT in the same one, that means some of their liquidity pools could be under collateralized and therefore have a bigger and worse effect. And that's why we've seen recently BIT USDT getting challenged as well on that one.
And if I can just add one thing on what you just said, guys, like, as you know, with SwissBorg, we never wanted to offer originally with Smart Yield the highest APY. The idea was really to focus on best risk return APY, because we have a responsibility to ensure that the funds are as safe as possible, while of course generating wealth, which is wealth management essentially. But just to stress what Cyrus was saying, a lot of the other platforms, and you may have seen many actually come out of the sticks just this morning and throughout the day, finally saying that they were exposed to UST to optimize other coins' yields. And just as Cyrus was saying, like, cross collateralization is a very risky thing. You know, the more you do this crossing, the more complicated the product becomes, the more counterparty risk is involved. And I guess one of the lessons, and I hate talking about lessons here because you know, we're all in pain and it's a really tragic moment, but sometimes we win, sometimes we learn, as we say. And what we can learn here is essentially that the fact that the Smart Yield was as transparent, and by the way, Anthony, I'm sure it's getting even more transparent with the transition, right? Which maybe you can discuss later, but the fact, guys, that we never did this crossing, that we never tried to optimize or take more risk just to add 2-3% on any coin's yield, was actually protecting everyone. And for those reasons, I think that, you know, the story we can take out of this essentially is transparency is absolutely key. And I think that's one thing that the DeFi team did at SwissBorg, where really they realized that not only providing best risk return, because a lot of us were not looking at risks enough or doing enough research or not testing enough ourselves, it's critical that we stay transparent at all times. And if you see, guys, double-digit yields, there are two things, right? Either they're doing what happened with cross-collateralization, and a lot of them have lost a lot of money on regular yields, which we do not do at SwissBorg. But the other way that they're generating, you know, double-digit APYs on stables, essentially is through trading. So I guess that's one thing that's really important as well, which is often quite hidden when you look at the background of the documents. They're using futures, they're using options, and they're actually trading, which could work, you know, in a bull market, which could work when you're long. But when there's volatility like this, all of a sudden trading for yield becomes also very high risk. So I don't know, Anthony, if you have any comments on the key of being fully transparent, but I think that's one of the core messages we've learned, right, throughout this crisis.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, it's true that in the past we had a lot of pressure from the community and from the competition as well, because, you know, sometimes they offer bigger yield than what we do. And at the beginning of the Smart Yield, because we were the first one to offer a direct DeFi access, we had an amazing yield. I remember with very little risk, we can get 40% USDC and etc. And it's true that with time, you know, everything normalized, but we keep the focus on saying, no, we are DeFi and we want to keep a very good level of risk with this program. And then we say we need to invest into our technology and infrastructure, that at least if we offer bigger APY, we should still keep the transparency and give the chance to the user to make their own decision. And I think the UST was one decision to move toward that direction and say, okay, what most of the people are doing out there is they swap the USDC for UST, and then they invest the UST and they give you a very nice yield with USDC. And for us, it was very clear that swapping USDC, which is a very qualitative stable coin, because the collateral is very qualitative. For UST, there was a very poor collateralized coin, right, with very poor engineering, was never an option. And that's why we released the UST vault, is to move toward the direction and say, if you possess already UST, we can simplify the work for you. But it was never the goal to mix the two. And I think, at the end of the day, that's going to be the challenge for us in the future, is how can we still design an interface that help people to better understand the risk they are exposed to. And trust me, I spend a lot of time with the design team saying, I want the same, like when you go to the restaurant and you have a menu. And in the menu, you can see I have my vegan option, I have my dairy-free option, I have my no nuts dairy or diet. And that's the type of thing I want to create, because I do not expect the people to read a lot of risk education things and go test themselves, right? That's what we're supposed to do. And now that's our challenge, to create the right design that we can empower the community. And that I think, again, I'm strongly convinced, beside the APY, in this moment we can create loyalty because we can empower you to make the good decision. And that's what our mission is. And I'm very passionate about the subject, but yeah.
And just to, like, sorry, Cyrus, but just to add on what Anthony was doing, we're not guessing these things. So Anthony and the DeFi team, of course, they create accounts with different like yield providers, and they essentially reverse engineer it. And they follow the funds, and they'll be able to say, okay, these guys are offering 11% on USDC because they're actually using UST. So they're giving more risk without communicating that. Or else Anthony and the DeFi team, what they do, guys, is they realize, okay, these funds are actually going to a derivatives exchange. Oh my God, they're doing leverage trading on these yields. And that's why they're generating these yields. And all of this, I guess it will come out of the woodworks, right? Eventually we will know. Warren Buffett has this, what is the expression, Sai? It's like we will know who is swimming naked once the tides go down, or something like that. But this is essentially, guys, we're not guessing. The DeFi team reverse engineers everything and follows the wallets on chain, and those who are offering those sexy yields sometimes, where other people were complaining about SwissBorg, we're just taking way higher risk.
I mean, from what we've already shared at our last was not an AMA. What do you call it? Our February session. What was it called? The one we did in Lausanne. I forgot, the big show we did in Lausanne. I think so. This is exactly it, right? Is how you could go through an interface, understand who you are, and then define your risk, right? And more importantly, going forward, is how you want to define your financial identity, and how you could start behaving in a way that really matches what you are and what you want the future to become. I'm very interested to see like how the really this new yodeling a chapter is going to unfold. I think so. For some, it's going to be very difficult because you can't just say I do 8% and I do like 6%. That doesn't mean anything. That's really doesn't mean anything. It's like, what are you doing in order to get 6%? What's the liquidity? What's the payout? What are the risks are you doing? Are you using the blockchain? Is it staking? Is it yield farming? Which platforms are you going for yield farming, right? And I think so these are all the questions that unfortunately most people, we don't really ask too much questions, because it's first it's complicated, second it takes time. But I think so in the next year or so, everyone's going to do that. And again, like we did for the DeFi, for the yield, we're going to be one of the first guys to offer this. And it's all thanks to your trust, guys. So I'm very excited. And it's going to be a really interesting chapter. Talking about chapter, guys, on my Twitter, we started writing down the different threads of why SwissBorg would be the next future champion and crypto wealth management. So I invite all of you guys to please, put a thread there. We need 100 threads at least. to share why you think that SwissBorg is the best platform, the best ecosystem, the best community, best products, the safest place, and to show it to the world. Because I think so that's one thing that sometimes we're a little bit too shy or maybe a bit too European, which is that we do a lot of work. We're very proud of it, but we don't show it as much as we should. So yeah, show us some green love and show to the world that we're doing the right things. Keynotes. Thank you, by the way. I just saw that. It was exactly. Thank you, Fanny. Just saw the comments. Keynote. There you go. Thank you, and
so,
Coconut.
Anthony, can I ask you a question? I don't see any. Thank you very much, Nico Nuts. The warning saved me over 100K. So actually, that was kind of the next question I wanted to ask you, Anthony. So first of all, like Anthony and the DeFi team, the fact that you guys published a blog, publicly, 1 month before this black swan or death spiral happened, and actually happened, plus the notifications in app, plus the blogs, plus the Twitter, the socials, the sticker, the label in the app, really, to me, and I want to say this publicly, shows how amazing of a team you built with the DeFi yields. And I'd love to ask you, not only that, obviously the transition to 1.5, Anthony, I think, well, first of all, like, how do you want to evolve this based on today's events? Does the plan change a little bit in the sense that you still want to offer high risk? As you said, you mentioned people should still have the rights to do that, but also on the transparency side, I know with the transition phase to 1.5. And then third question, sorry, Anthony, is in terms of the yields.
One at a time, Max. Go on. One at a time.
Okay.
Let the guy, come on, he's tired. He didn't sleep for the last 5 days. He slept like 10 hours. He's like, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
No, I think, in all humility, I think we learn a lot as well. Like I've seen community member ask me, why did you put this sign 2 days before, and etc. And it's true, right? So I think the blog post didn't do a good job. And I was complaining a little bit with the team, and I say, we can be PhD guys and understand all these things, but we really need to, we can't have a post blog and say, we did the job. No, it's our job is to really help the community to be empowered. And I think in this moment, we learn a lot why it's so important. And I think the team, and it's a very expensive, I think, learning lesson for a lot of people in the space right now, but for us as well.
And maybe on that one, I think so, like stable coins, this is going to be a very, very interesting political, regulatory topic. I think so. This terminology is going to be extremely careful about it. I think so. All the decentralized tokens that are pegged on dollars won't be called stablecoins anymore. So DAI, UST, USDD, because they have an inherent risk to the market, which is that they're collateralized by a beautiful different other cryptos, or as well cryptos that could be very native and very early stage, right? And this is the case for UST. So yeah, that's definitely going to be something. We are improving day by day, but one thing always to remind yourself, guys, and this goes for everything in the world, right? The higher the yield, the higher the risk. It's as easy as that. If one platform's offering 16%, the other platform's offering you 8%, that probably means, besides if there's like really bad fees to get on that 8%, that there's the double, twice as more as the risk, and the yield was 16% in average. It's as easy as that, right? And this is something that we have to realize, is that USDC might be a AAA type of stable coin, right? USDT might be like I don't know, triple B, whatever. USDD or DAI would be potentially like a C, right? And all the other ones are extremely junk type of stable coins. That doesn't mean that they don't have a utility. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking into it. Doesn't mean we actually should be yielding on it, but we should understand the risk that it has. like in every fixed income or any type of currency. Like, today, is it a good time to buy Turkish lira? It might be. The risk that you're buying interest rates on Turkish lira and the risk that you have with Swiss CHF, it's a very different game, right? And it's a very different geopolitical commodity. There's a lot of things that go to these different fiat currencies, and it's the same thing that goes to essentially these stable coins and the decentralized stable coins.
I think the protect and burn, we can keep that for a little bit later. Anthony, are you still here? I think maybe
he went into the metaverse.
He went to the metaverse. But just to follow up on what you're saying, Sai, and for the dear SwissBorg community who's watching out there, 2 days ago when the UST JPEG started happening, right, we're going down to 0.6 something, 0.62, I believe. Anthony right away with the DeFi team was saying, okay, guys, now it's time to monitor USDT. So they were always ahead of the curve, and they were monitoring USDT to see if there would be another attack ahead of time for us while we're sleeping, while we're getting our rest. The team is always, working hard in this sense. And in terms of the current outlook, and I would love to have Anthony comment when he comes back, but as you all know, right after this event, Anthony and the DeFi team were saying, okay, this is risk off markets. We're going to rebalance the smart yield as of today. You may have noticed that the stable coin yields have dropped, deliberately so, in order for us to weather the storm and then plug it back in when we feel like the risks are mitigated and that there's a little more safety around. But Anthony, can you hear us?
If not, it's fine. I think, I think it's connection. But you always have to fly to security whenever it hit the fan. That's exactly what people do, and that's why essentially crypto has been suffering a lot, right? It's that when you have geopolitical, when you have COVID, when you have the war, when you have inflation, when you have stagflation, when you have all these different things, very often you're going to fly to security. And here's exactly the same thing, is that when you see that there's a lot of congestion in the markets, there's a lot of risk inherent to UST collapsing other different liquidity pools into DeFi. What you want to do is not like, oh, I might make 10% APR, APY, APR on the next, 6 months or whatsoever. It's like, no, man, just get out of it. And until you don't figure out the whole plan and you're sure that essentially everything is not well cleaned, well, then Anthony and the whole DeFi team that's backing this, essentially do a lot of risk stress tests and say like, okay, this is not the time for it. Let's go back. Let's relax. We might lose, some nice yield farming days, but at the end, if it's snowing, you're not going to have a lot of flowers or carrots coming out of your garden, right? And it's the same thing right now. There's a terrible amount of earthquake and snow at the same time, and the best is just to wait to let it happen, and then whenever spring is back, well, you start planting your nice seeds and you let them yield and make a beautiful a new garden.
That being said, the ETH yields are quite nice. Anthony, do you want to comment on the current strategies? Like, how are you trying to diversify the risk and try to mitigate the risk? Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason why we switched today is the same pattern that what we observe with UST happen with USDT. So the funny thing is, that's what we say today, is the smart information is always on chain. So when you look at Curve, for example, and I always say UST survival depend on his secondary market liquidity, because the primary market liquidity doesn't exist, right? And one of the most important one is not the one on the exchange, it's the one on the DEX, and the DEX for stablecoin is Curve. So it's very simple. You look at Curve, if you see that one of the pool with the stablecoin become asymmetric, meaning there is a lot of tokens that are moving in one direction, there is something extremely wrong that is happening. And yesterday, when we start to look at USDT, at some point, and we act very quickly, because that's the kind of health factor we monitor, but all of a sudden, a pool that was at the equilibrium with 30% of DAI, 30% of USDC, 30% of USDT. I know we're getting a bit technical here. Went extremely asymmetric with USDT, meaning that people that have already information in the market were already exchanging their USDT there for USDC and DAI. So then what we did is we take the responsible decision to remove all the assets we had from Curve, swap before any risk can happen, and then go back to the safety place, which we know by default is Aave. And what we've seen today is the USDT went from 1 and lose 10%. I mean, on Binance, it was at some point 40% depeg, which is massive, right? I was not personally too much concerned about USDT, but you never know, right? Especially after the event that just happened. And the reality was just the stress of a market or maybe market manipulation, but we couldn't expose our user to that risk. So from tomorrow, we are going to reintroduce the curve mechanism. I think now I'm looking at the USDT. The repeg is back. I think the Tether corporation show a lot of strength today. So we're back to normal.
It did.
So from tomorrow, you'll have USDT smart yield back to normal. And I think progressively, we are going to wait an extra day because, of course, USDT was the risky asset. So it's easy to reintroduce this one. And progressively, we are going to introduce the other one.
And I think so. What now? Like other people are asking me recently, but how do I stake my Ether, for example? And a good thing is that now there's possibility of staking Ether at some nice rates, and that enable you essentially to get into Ethereum 2.0, and you know right now it's 4% or so, but that could actually really grow. And the great thing about this risk is that is like we did last time during the I think so Jackie was saying that she has the less risk, and she chose this that she would be very happy. She has a long ver on Ether, such as myself. Like I don't even know if I ever sold Ether. Did in 2017, 18, but then I think so. I've just been buying more and more in Ether all the time, and because I'm a strong believer in Ethereum, I think so. This is a really good use cases where essentially the risk that you have is technologic, right? So if Ethereum blows up, well, then obviously the Ether that you staked is not important, but it's not into DeFi, right? It's more as Ethereum 2.0 that'll be unfold. Hopefully, it'll be by this year, and then if it does happen, people that are actually staking this Ether right now could actually grow to a higher percentage. Some people are talking about double digits here. So this could be a very nice play if you guys on the long run to bring some ETH and stake it for the long run. Yeah.
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, Size, so like Nicolas and some of the engineers are following very carefully the transition to ETH 2.0. And it's looking quite good, right? It's looking like this is going to happen this year. Anthony, is ETH 2.0 and 4% currently on the SwissBorg Wealth app one of the smarter moves? Obviously, it's not financial advice, but you know you're the expert in earning interest. Do you like this play with ETH?
I mean, what is very difficult at the moment is to predict what's going to be the shape of the market in the short term, right? We have a lot of inflation and etc. There is still a massive correlation between the stock market and the crypto market. Sorry, I'm going to cut my Slack because a lot of noise. So it's hard to give any prediction on the short term. Now, with regards to the long term, I think first of all we know that the fiat money is fucked as well, right? It's a bit of a Luna situation. So Ethereum is always a good value, especially with the good progress that Ethereum is making.
Yep.
This chain is not disappearing anywhere. We have built the people that are here to build. So if you guys are here for the long term, I think it's good moment to accumulate. I personally accumulate Ethereum.
Me too.
And then you put in the holding and you forget, right? And in 1 or 2 years, you come back and you say, I made a good decision. And you need to do that not for flipping. I think the flipping time are over. I personally will not invest. I mean, I will only invest in a project where I know the team, no unknown project, because it's so easy to disappear, start something else, right? It takes a lot of courage to, when your token has dumped 99%, and we know it very well, it takes a lot of courage not to say, okay, let's start all over again. Because at the end of the day, we just let down the community. We don't care, right? We have the money, we have the knowledge. Let's go with a new token. It's always the easy way. And we see a lot of people doing that. And I'm telling you, most of the projects you have seen skyrocketing and giving so much money to their founder, they will disappear. There is too much incentive to start again. But Ethereum is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. The people are building on Ethereum are very solid, trustable person. We're one of them, even though the app is still centralized. So I think for the long term, it's very nice. And again, doing that with SwissBorg, it is segregated. We offer transparency. We use Curve. So I never like to criticize the competitor, but what I do know is if you do that with SwissBorg, you save. So up to you guys.
Yeah, and I think so that goes to the last thing, guys. I mean, look, this game is fantastic. I mean, obviously it hurts to lose money. I lost money. I mean, looked at my wealth app today, and I'm not gonna tell you how much I lost, but actually you don't lose until you don't sell, right? But it's a fantastic thing, right? We're seeing that the wealth gap is just growing on a daily basis. We see inequalities are just growing on a daily basis. We see that centralized technology is bringing Sunni down for the crypto challenge. We see centralized technology of people taking potentially all the measures to control all of us, all our data, and that we're going to the matrix. We see wars happening, dictatorships growing. And we could let this go, right? And just say like, okay, but it was not my fault, right? And then what happens? The Third World War, and and then explosion, and then maybe a few people go with Elon Musk to Mars, right? And maybe all the species then die, or we could fight this, right? And we could fight this and creating a better environment, right? A greener one, creating a better social governance that goes with it, through decentralization, thanks to all of you guys, and really being here in the hard time, right? If this was a bull market, we would be 3,000 people watching today. But right today, we're maybe 250. Maybe this video will be seen maybe to 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 people. These people that are watching do care about the planet, do care about where we're heading as a species. And I think so this is, for me, the most beautiful thing is that in the hard time, there's only one thing to do, is pull up your sleeves, bring your smile, tweet some love, maybe buy some more crypto, yield it in a better way, and be positive, because the impact that we're creating is something that 5-10 years down the line, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, but he was so lucky because he got into SwissBorg token at such a cheap price, right? No, you didn't. You got into a movement, you got into community, and that you did really suffered sometimes, and a lot of times we got to enjoy what we're doing, and for that, even looking at our tired eyes of Alex, Anthony, and myself, we're still smiling.
And just another question that was written before, it was like, when protect and burn. One thing I want to share with you guys, and this is a bit of a personal thing, but obviously, as you know, I'm always with you and the community, just like Cyrus. We're very active in the community, and I receive private messages, whether it be Twitter, WhatsApp, Telegram, all the time, of people's sufferings, right? Because of the price of the CHSB. And to the point where even in meetings internally, I'm like, guys, we need to detect the protect and burn. But once again, the analysts and people who've been through these spirals many times, before the crypto world, were saying it's not the right time, Alex. We need to wait. We need to wait. You see the market trend is really poor. Look at the macroeconomic situation. Look at the NASDAQ. And they're saying we will get to a time where we can buy back and burn more. And the community will be happy in the end. And I want to reiterate on the protect and burn and the protect and choose, which I feel maybe we didn't communicate super effectively. But by the end of Q2, guys, by the way, if you do want to burn these tokens, if you do want to have them in buyback situations, if you do want to keep them for listings, if you do want to use the CHSB for liquidity pools on decentralized exchanges, you will have all these options. So I don't know, Sai and Anthony, if we all communicated this in the most effective way, but that budget will be decided by the community. So you guys within, by the end of June, will have the chance to actually decide where this budget should specifically go. And that's why we haven't been doing protect and burn, but we have been buying back CHSB for the yield, which, by the way, the CHSB is far from its all-time high. It's offering double-digit yields, and the CHSB utilities team, or the squad, is doing a tremendous job. Obviously, we talked about Ether, but CHSB, we wholeheartedly believe in its future. And my last note for everyone in terms of the safety side of things are, you now know, everyone, that in terms of the company and corporate treasury, since the ICO, the team has done a tremendous job at sustaining what we have received from you, the community, from day one, right? So we went down a market 99%. And really, when I see Jeremy, our CFO, and the corporate finance team, they manage our funds so effectively that we are so healthy for this cycle. They're thinking always ahead of time. At the peak of last year's bull cycle, which was in Q1 2021, our corporate finance team was already thinking, okay, we need to sustain at least 12 months or 18 months of a bear market, et cetera, always thinking ahead of time. So that is one thing. Number two, we're a custodial app, but we also have, once again, segregated accounts. So as Cyrus was saying earlier, we do not own your assets, right? The accounts are segregated. Plus you get that comfort of having custody, not having to manage your keys. So really, it's the best of both CeFi and DeFi, right? You're comfortable, you don't need to manage anything, and you don't have the counterparty risk of SwissBorg, even if you don't believe us, right? So which I find tremendous. And in terms of the yield, you guys saw it, right? The DeFi team from earning interest is really, really proving from day on, day off, that 24/7, we're really responding well to be the number one choice in terms of crypto wealth management. And for these three reasons, these three pillars, I don't know how you guys feel. How do you feel? Tell us, how do you feel in terms of your confidence? Let us know in the comments. But I am just so grateful. I'm struggling to trust many platforms as of today. And obviously I'm heavily biased, but I do think that SwissBorg is the safest place on earth at the moment to park your cryptos.
Well, on those beautiful words, my dear brothers, sisters, yeah, I'm thankful, share as well, obviously, the idea of people to get into premium is the best, right? You get generous premium for a big discount right now.
Premium, yeah.
And I know that many won't, because they will just say like, no, it's too difficult. But again, I think so the most important things here is that, always to be proactive in the good times, and especially more be proactive like we're doing right now in the bad times. And I really want to thank everyone again for taking your time, for sharing your thoughts, sharing your concerns, and as Alex always says, guys, the future is
Right.
bright.
My friends.
Okay, guys, much love to all of you guys. Take care. Be safe, yodel, and enjoy the bad times. And soon we'll get back to the great times again.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, guys.